Welcome back to True Horror Stories for Sleep, where real people share their encounters with things that shouldn't exist. I'm your host, Studio, and tonight we're talking about rules. The kind of rules that sound like superstitions, the kind that get passed around like old wives' tales, the kind that people ignore until it's too late. If you're enjoying these episodes, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave a like. Drop a comment telling me which story scared you most. And if you have your own experience with sleep paralysis, Ouija boards, or strange things in the woods, our submission form is in the description below. All right, lights off, volume up. And whatever you do, if you wake up at 3 a.m. and can't move, don't look at the corners of your room. Let's begin. I haven't had a full night's sleep in over a year. I'm writing this at 4:37 a.m. because I'm too afraid to close my eyes again. My therapist says I have severe sleep paralysis and night terrors. My neurologist says my brain is perfectly healthy. My sleep specialist has run every test imaginable and found nothing wrong. But I know what I see. I know what visits me every night. And I know that it's getting closer. My name is Jennifer. I'm 26 years old, and I work as a graphic designer in Boston. Or I did, until the sleep deprivation made it impossible to function. I'm on medical leave now, living on savings that are rapidly depleting, trying to find anyone who can help me. Because the man in the corner of my bedroom is real, and he's not going to stop until he gets what he wants. It started 6 months after I moved into my apartment in Jamaica Plain. It was my first place living alone. A studio on the 3rd floor of an old Victorian that had been converted into apartments. The rent was cheap for Boston, probably because the building was old and the neighborhood was still gentrifying. But I loved it. High ceilings, big windows, hardwood floors. It felt like mine. The first few months were perfect. I decorated. I hosted friends. I felt like a real adult for the first time. I'd fall asleep easily and wake up refreshed. No problems at all. Then came the night of February 14th, 2024. Valentine's Day. I remember the date because I'd spent it alone, feeling a little sorry for myself, binge-watching romantic comedies and eating ice cream. I fell asleep around midnight with the TV still on. I woke up, or thought I woke up, around 3 in the morning. I couldn't move. It felt like someone had laid a heavy blanket over my entire body, pinning me to the mattress. I couldn't lift my arms, couldn't turn my head, couldn't even open my mouth to scream. The only things I could move were my eyes. And that's when I saw him. There was a man standing in the corner of my bedroom, the far corner near the closet, about 10 feet from my bed. He was perfectly still, just standing there in the darkness. I couldn't make out any features. He was more of a silhouette, a shape that was darker than the surrounding shadows. But I could feel him watching me. I lay there paralyzed, my heart hammering, unable to move or scream or do anything but stare at this figure in my room. The TV was still on, providing just enough light that I could see him clearly. He wasn't moving, wasn't making any sound, just standing there, watching. This lasted for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 2 or 3 minutes. Then, suddenly, I could move again. The paralysis released all at once, and I sat up gasping, reaching for the lamp on my nightstand. The corner was empty. No one was there. I turned on every light in my apartment and checked every room, every closet, even under the bed. Nothing. The door was still locked from the inside. The windows were latched. No one could have gotten in or out. I convinced myself it was a dream. Sleep paralysis is a real thing. I'd read about it before. Your brain wakes up before your body does, and sometimes you hallucinate. It's terrifying, but harmless. Just a glitch in the sleep cycle. I went back to bed eventually, leaving the lights on, and didn't sleep well the rest of the night. But that was just the first time. 2 nights later, it happened again. Same thing. Woke up paralyzed around 3 a.m. Couldn't move. And there he was. The man in the corner. Still just a dark silhouette. Still perfectly motionless. Still watching. This time, though, I noticed something. He was closer. Not by much. Maybe a foot or two, but definitely closer to my bed than he'd been the first time. When the paralysis broke, I turned on the lights. Empty corner. No explanation. I made an appointment with my doctor the next day. She listened to my description and nodded sympathetically. Sleep paralysis, she said. It's more common than you'd think. Stress, irregular sleep schedules, sleeping on your back. All of these can trigger episodes. The hallucinations are a well-documented part of the experience. Your brain is in a state between sleeping and waking, and it can conjure very vivid images. But it feels so real, I said. I can see him clearly. And he's in the exact same spot both times. It's pulling from your memory to construct the experience. But I promise you, there's no one actually there. She prescribed some sleeping pills and suggested I see a therapist to address any underlying anxiety. I left feeling reassured. It was just my brain playing tricks on me, nothing to be afraid of. Except it kept happening. Every 2 or 3 nights, I'd wake up paralyzed and he'd be there. The man in the corner. And each time, he was a little bit closer. After 2 weeks, he'd moved from the far corner to the middle of the room. After a month, he was standing at the foot of my bed. I still couldn't make out any features. His face was always in shadow, his form always indistinct. But I could sense his presence more intensely with each episode, could feel the weight of his attention on me. The sleeping pills didn't help. The therapy didn't help. I tried everything. Changing my sleep position, sleep hygiene routines, meditation apps, white noise machines. Nothing stopped the episodes. And he kept getting closer. By March, he was standing beside my bed. So close, I could have reached out and touched him if I'd been able to move. I'd lie there paralyzed, staring up at this dark figure looming over me, feeling his presence like a physical weight pressing down on my chest. The episodes were lasting longer too. What started as 2 or 3 minutes had stretched to 5, then 10, then 15 minutes of complete paralysis while this thing stood over me. I say thing, because by this point I'd stopped thinking of it as a man. There was something wrong about the proportions. The way it stood was too still, too perfect. Humans move, even when they're trying to be motionless. We breathe, we shift our weight, we blink. This thing did none of that. It was like a statue, a silhouette carved from darkness itself. I went back to my doctor. She referred me to a sleep specialist who had me do an overnight sleep study. They hooked me up to a dozen monitors and watched me sleep in their lab. Nothing. The study showed normal sleep patterns, no apnea, no unusual brain activity, no explanation for the paralysis episodes. The specialist said some people are just prone to sleep paralysis, and there's not always a clear medical cause. But what about the hallucinations? I asked. What about the figure I see? Shadow figures are one of the most common sleep paralysis hallucinations, he explained. Across cultures, people report seeing dark figures, often male, standing in their rooms during episodes. Some cultures call them demons or ghosts. But neurologically, it's just your brain's threat detection system firing during a vulnerable state. Your amygdala is activated, creating a sense of presence and danger. It's getting closer, I said. Each time, it's closer to my bed. He frowned at that. The consistency of the hallucination is unusual, but not unheard of. Your brain might be reinforcing the pattern. I'd recommend cognitive behavioral therapy specifically for sleep disorders, and perhaps a different medication. He prescribed something stronger. I started the therapy. I did everything right, but nothing changed. In April, something shifted. The figure was no longer just standing beside my bed. Now, during episodes, it would lean down. Slowly, over the course of the paralysis, it would bend at the waist until its face, or where its face should be, was level with mine. I couldn't see any features. No eyes, no mouth, no nose. Just darkness. But I could feel its breath. Cold air washing over my face, smelling of nothing and everything, like the air in a sealed room that hasn't been opened in years. And I started hearing things. Not words exactly. More like a sound that might have been words in a language I didn't understand. Or maybe it was just the sound of air moving through a throat that wasn't shaped quite right. But it came from where the mouth should be, and it was clearly directed at me. The therapist suggested I was layering new fears onto the existing hallucination, that my anxiety about the episodes was making them worse, adding new elements. She said I needed to stop fighting the paralysis, to accept it as harmless and let it pass without fear. I tried. God, I tried. But when you're lying there, unable to move, while something that shouldn't exist leans over you and makes sounds that might be words, acceptance is pretty fucking difficult. In May, it touched me. I woke to the familiar paralysis, the familiar figure leaning over me. But this time, I felt something. A cold pressure on my forehead, like fingers, long, too long fingers, pressing against my skin. The touch was wrong. It wasn't the temperature exactly, though it was ice cold. It was the sensation itself. Like being touched through water or through a membrane. Like the thing touching me existed slightly out of phase with normal reality. The touch lasted for the entire episode, and when the paralysis finally broke and I could move again, there were marks on my forehead. 4 small bruises in a line, like fingerprints, that stayed visible for 3 days. I took pictures of them and showed my doctor. She said they could have been from me pressing my own hand against my forehead during sleep, or from sleeping on something that left an impression. She didn't say I was lying, but I could see the skepticism in her eyes. No one believed me. And why would they? Sleep paralysis is well documented. Shadow figure hallucinations are common. The human brain is capable of creating incredibly vivid false experiences. But the bruises were real. The marks on my skin were real. I started sleeping with my lights on. All of them. Every lamp in my studio blazing through the night. It didn't matter. The figure still came. Even in the bright light, I could see it. A shape of deeper darkness, a void in the shape of a man standing in my brightly lit room. In June, my friend Rachel stayed over. I'd told her about the episodes, and she'd offered to keep me company, to be there if I had another one. We set up an air mattress for her on the floor next to my bed. The episode came at 3017 a.m. I woke to the paralysis, and there it was, leaning over me as usual. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't do anything to alert Rachel sleeping just a few feet away. But then, and this is what terrifies me most, the figure turned its head. Slowly, deliberately, it looked away from me and down at Rachel, and it reached out one of those two long arms toward her. I've never fought so hard against paralysis. I poured every ounce of will I had into moving, into screaming, into doing something to protect my friend. And somehow, impossibly, I managed to make a sound. Just a small groan, barely audible. But it was enough. The figure froze, its hand suspended over Rachel's sleeping form. Then it straightened up, looked back at me, and made that sound again. That, not quite words, sound that raises every hair on your body. The paralysis broke. I sat up gasping, and the figure was gone. Rachel woke up, startled by my movement. "Did you have another episode?" she asked. "It was here," I managed to say. "It was reaching for you." She looked around the empty room, concern clear on her face. "Jen, there's no one here. It's just the sleep paralysis." I didn't tell her what I was really thinking, that it had been about to touch her, to mark her the way it had marked me. And I'd stopped it. Rachel didn't stay over again after that. I think she's worried about me. I think all my friends are. They've stopped suggesting solutions and started suggesting psychiatrists who specialize in psychotic disorders. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am losing my mind. But how do I explain what happened in July? I'd started recording myself sleeping. I set up my phone on a tripod pointed at my bed, hoping to capture evidence of the episodes, maybe proof that I wasn't making this up. The recordings were useless at first. Just hours of me sleeping normally, then suddenly sitting up and looking around, clearly in distress. Nothing visible in the frame except me. But the audio was different. On the nights I had episodes, there was sound. Not loud, and you had to turn the volume way up to hear it. But it was there. That same, not quite word sound I'd been hearing. Coming from somewhere in the room, continuing, even after the paralysis broke, and I sat up. I took the recording to an audio engineer I knew from work. Asked her to analyze it, see if she could figure out what it was. She worked on it for a week, running it through various filters and analysis software. When she called me back, she sounded disturbed. "Jen, where did you record this?" "In my apartment." "Why?" "The sound. It's not coming from any single point. It's like it's coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. And there's something else weird. The frequency patterns don't quite match anything in normal speech. It's like someone's speaking, but the resonances are wrong. Like the throat producing the sound isn't shaped like a human throat." She sent me the files. I listened to them over and over, and she was right. The sound was wrong in ways I couldn't quite articulate, but could definitely feel. It made my skin crawl. That's when I decided to move. I gave notice on my apartment, found a new place in a completely different neighborhood, and planned my escape from whatever was haunting me. My last night in that apartment was August 15th. I didn't sleep. I sat up all night with every light on, waiting for dawn when the movers would arrive. Around 3 a.m., the lights went out, all of them simultaneously. The digital clock went dark. My phone, which had been charging, went dead. Complete darkness and silence. And then I felt it. The paralysis, heavier than it had ever been. So heavy I couldn't breathe, couldn't even try to move. The figure was there, right beside my bed. But this time I could see it more clearly, not because it was any more visible, but because it was somehow illuminated from within. A faint, sickly glow that outlined its shape. It was impossibly tall, 7 feet, maybe more, and thin, so thin, with arms that hung past where its knees should be. The proportions were all wrong, stretched and elongated like a reflection in a funhouse mirror. And for the first time, I could see its face, or what passed for a face. There were eyes, hollow spaces where eyes should be, but filled with that same sickly glow. There was a mouth, but it was too wide, stretching nearly from ear to ear. And it was open, revealing something inside that I can't adequately describe. Not teeth, not a tongue, just wrongness. It leaned down until that terrible face was inches from mine. And it spoke. Real words this time, in a voice that sounded like it was coming from far away and right in my ear simultaneously. You are mine. The paralysis broke. The lights came back on. The figure was gone. I grabbed my car keys and ran. I didn't pack, didn't take anything except my phone and wallet. I just ran out of that apartment and drove to a 24-hour diner where I sat in the bright lights until the sun came up. I never went back. I hired movers to pack up my stuff, gave them detailed instructions, told them to leave anything that seemed weird or wrong. I don't know if they found anything. I didn't ask. I'm in a new apartment now. Different building, different neighborhood, different bed, different everything. I thought maybe distance would help. That whatever was in that place couldn't follow me. But it's been 3 nights, and last night I woke up paralyzed. The room was different. The layout was different. But there, in the corner, the far corner, near the new closet, was a dark figure, standing perfectly still, watching me. And I know what's going to happen. It's going to get closer. Night after night, inch by inch, until it's leaning over me again, until it touches me again, until it gets what it wants. I don't know what it wants. My sanity? My life? My soul, if such a thing exists? I don't know, and that's the worst part. The doctors say it's sleep paralysis. The therapists say it's trauma and anxiety manifesting as hallucinations. My friends say I need to check myself into a facility, get real help. But I know what I see. I know what touches me. I know what speaks to me in a voice that shouldn't exist. And I know that I'm running out of time. I'm writing this at 4:37 a.m. because I'm too afraid to sleep. I've been awake for 47 hours now. The hallucinations from sleep deprivation are starting. Shadows moving at the edge of my vision, sounds that aren't there. But those hallucinations are better than what waits for me when I close my eyes. I can't keep this up forever. Eventually, my body will shut down and force me to sleep. And when that happens, when I can't fight it anymore, the man in the corner will be there, waiting, getting closer. I've started researching. Late at night, when I should be sleeping, I search online for similar experiences. And I've found them. So many of them. People who report the same thing. A figure that appears during sleep paralysis, that gets progressively closer over weeks or months, that eventually touches them and marks them. And then The posts stop. The accounts go silent. The people disappear. I found one forum where someone had tracked these cases. They called it the progression. Said, it followed a pattern. First, the figure appears at a distance. Then it approaches over time. Then it touches you. Then it speaks. And then the final stage was unclear. Or maybe the people who reached it couldn't report back. There was one account that stuck with me. A woman in Seattle who documented her experience for months. The last thing she posted was dated 3 weeks after the figure first spoke to her. She wrote, "It's in the room with me even when I'm awake now. I can see it in the corner of my eye, just at the edge of my vision. When I turn to look, it's not there. But I know it's watching, always watching. I don't think I'm going to make it." To anyone reading this, if it starts with you, don't let it get close. Don't let it touch you. Don't let it speak. Because once it does, once it marks you, you can't run. It will follow. And eventually, it will take what it came for. Her account hasn't posted anything in 6 months. I tried to find information about her, but there's nothing. It's like she never existed. I'm scared that's going to be me. That one night, I'll close my eyes out of sheer exhaustion and I won't wake up. Or worse, I'll wake up, but I won't be me anymore. Something else will be looking out through my eyes. I don't know what to do. The medical establishment thinks I'm having a mental health crisis. My friends think I'm having a breakdown. And maybe I am. Maybe none of this is real. Maybe I'm creating it all in my own mind. But the bruises were real. The recordings are real. And the figure I see in the corner of my new bedroom, getting incrementally closer each night, feels more real than anything else in my life. I'm writing this as a warning and a plea. If you start experiencing sleep paralysis, if you see a figure in your room, if it starts getting closer, get help immediately. Don't wait like I did. Don't assume it's just your brain playing tricks. Because I don't think it's my brain. I think it's something else. Something that exists in that space between sleeping and waking, that liminal zone where our minds are vulnerable and our bodies are defenseless. And I think it's been there for a very long time, waiting for people like me. People who open the door, even accidentally, even unknowingly. And once that door is open, it can't be closed again. It's 5023 a.m. now. The sun is starting to rise. I'm safe for a few more hours. During the day, it doesn't come. Only in the deep night, in that darkest hour between 3 and 4 a.m., does it manifest. I'm going to try to stay awake again today. Drink coffee, keep moving, avoid anything comfortable that might let me drift off. But I know I can't sustain this. The human body needs sleep. Eventually, it will take it whether I'm willing or not. And when I close my eyes, when I finally can't fight anymore, the man in the corner will be there. Maybe at the foot of my bed now. Maybe beside it. Maybe leaning over me, ready to take whatever it is that it wants. I wish I could say I'm not afraid. I wish I could be brave. But I'm terrified. I'm more scared than I've ever been in my life. Because I know how this ends. I've seen the pattern. I've read the accounts of others who've experienced the progression. And I know that I'm running out of time. If anyone reading this knows what this is, if anyone has survived the final stage, if anyone has any information that could help, please, God, please reach out. I'll try anything. I'll go anywhere. I just don't want to end up like those others, like that woman in Seattle who posted one last desperate message and then vanished. The sun is fully up now. I can hear my neighbors starting their day. Normal sounds of normal life. For them, last night was just another night. They slept peacefully, dreamed normal dreams, woke up refreshed. I don't remember what that feels like anymore. I'm going to try to make it through today, and tonight I'll fight sleep for as long as I can. And when I can't fight anymore, when my eyes finally close, despite every effort to keep them open, I'll face whatever comes. The man in the corner getting closer, always getting closer, until there's nowhere left for me to run. I was a park ranger for 8 years. I loved that job, loved the wilderness, loved helping people, loved the solitude of the backcountry. I thought I'd understood the forest, respected it, knew its dangers and its beauty. I was wrong. There are things in the woods that we're not meant to find, things that don't belong to our world, our logic, our understanding of how reality works. And once you've seen them, once you've made the mistake of interacting with them, you can never look at the forest the same way again. My name is Lucas. I'm 34 years old, and I quit the National Park Service 6 months ago. I haven't set foot in a forest since. I probably never will again. This is the story of why. I worked in a large national forest in the Pacific Northwest. I won't say which one, because I don't want people going there to look for what I found. The forest covered hundreds of thousands of acres, most of it old growth, with trails that wound through terrain so remote that you could hike for days without seeing another person. It was perfect for me. I took the backcountry assignments that other rangers avoided. The long patrols, the overnight stays in fire lookouts, the searches for lost hikers in the deepest parts of the wilderness. I was comfortable alone out there, or I thought I was. The first time I saw a staircase, I was on a routine patrol about 15 miles from the nearest trailhead. It was late September 2023, the fall colors just starting to turn, the air crisp and clean. I was following a maintained trail, doing a check for hazards and trail conditions. That's when I saw it, about 30 yards off the trail. A staircase. Just standing there in the middle of the forest. At first, I thought it was part of an old structure. Sometimes you find remnants of abandoned homesteads or logging camps in the backcountry. But as I got closer, I realized this didn't make sense. It was a wooden staircase, maybe 12 steps, leading up to nothing. No building, no platform, no structure of any kind. Just stairs ascending into empty air, surrounded by old-growth forest that clearly hadn't been cleared in centuries. The stairs themselves were in perfect condition. No rot, no weathering, no moss or lichen. The wood looked fresh, like it had been built yesterday. And the construction was strange, ornate, with carved railings that had an almost Victorian style. Not something you'd see in a utilitarian logging structure. I stood there staring at it, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The stairs were positioned at a slight angle to the slope of the land, rising about 8 feet from bottom to top. The top step just ended in mid-air. No reason for them, no explanation. I pulled out my radio to report it, then hesitated. Report what, exactly? That I'd found a staircase in the woods? They'd think I was pranking them or losing my mind. I took photos instead, walked around it, examined it from every angle. The wood was solid, real, well built. The stairs didn't wobble when I pushed on them. They were anchored to the ground somehow, though I couldn't see any foundation. And here's the weird part. The area around the staircase felt wrong. Not threatening exactly, but off. Like the air pressure was different or the sound didn't carry right. The normal forest noises. Birds, insects, wind in the trees, all seemed muted within about a 10-foot radius of the stairs. I didn't climb them. Something instinctive told me not to. Instead, I marked the location on my GPS and continued my patrol. That night, back at the ranger station, I mentioned it to my supervisor, Tom. He was a 20-year veteran, knew these woods better than anyone. "You found stairs?" he asked, his expression changing. "Yeah, just standing in the middle of nowhere. You know anything about old structures out there?" Tom was quiet for a long moment. "Where exactly did you find this?" I showed him on the map. He studied it, then looked at me seriously. "Lucas, I'm going to tell you something that doesn't go in any official report. You're not the first ranger to find stairs out there. Over the years, different people have reported them. Always in remote areas, always off the main trails. Different locations, different styles of stairs, but always the same thing. Staircases to nowhere. What are they? No one knows. We've had people investigate, brought in architects, historians, even some university researchers. No one can explain them. They don't match any known structures. The wood doesn't match any local logging operations. And they appear and disappear. Rangers mark the locations, go back later, and they're gone. No sign they were ever there. No disturbance to the ground, nothing." I felt a chill run down my spine. "So what do we do about them?" Tom leaned forward. "We have one rule about the stairs. One rule that every ranger in this forest learns, usually from someone like me passing it down unofficially. Never climb them, no matter what. You see stairs in the woods, you mark the location, you report it to me privately, and you don't climb them. That's it." "Why? What happens if you climb them?" "I don't know. No ranger has climbed them and reported back. But we've had people go missing over the years. Experienced hikers, people who knew these woods. Some of them were last seen in areas where stairs had been reported. Maybe it's coincidence. Maybe it's not. But we don't take chances." I should have listened. God, I should have listened. But 3 weeks later, I found another staircase. This one was different. Metal instead of wood. A spiral staircase painted dark green, almost invisible against the forest backdrop. It was about 20 miles from the first one, in an even more remote section. And this time, there was something on the top step. A backpack. Modern, expensive-looking, still in good condition. I approached carefully, that same wrong feeling emanating from the area around the stairs. I took photos, documented everything. The backpack was within arm's reach if I stood on the bottom step. I knew I should radio it in, wait for Tom, follow the rules. But it could be evidence. Someone might be missing, might need help. The backpack might have ID, might help us find someone. I put one foot on the bottom step. The moment my boot touched the wood, everything changed. The muted quality of the sound intensified. Suddenly, I couldn't hear anything. No wind, no birds, nothing. Complete silence. And the air felt thick, resistant, like I was moving through water. I pulled my foot back immediately. and the normal sounds of the forest rushed back in. My heart was pounding. The backpack was still there, tantalizingly close. I could see a name tag attached to it. If I could just read that name. I used a long stick to try to hook the backpack and pull it down. The stick passed through the space where the top step was like there was nothing there. I could see the stairs, but my stick met no resistance. That's when I heard it. Footsteps, coming down the stairs. I stepped back quickly, watching in horror as the staircase began to vibrate slightly. The footsteps were slow, deliberate, descending from somewhere I couldn't see. Coming down from whatever space existed at the top of those stairs. I ran. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I ran back to the trail and I didn't stop until I'd put at least a mile between me and those stairs. That night, I told Tom everything. He listened without interrupting, his face grave. "The footsteps," he said when I finished. "That's new. Or at least, no one's reported that before." "What the hell are these things, Tom?" "I don't know. But I've been thinking about them for 20 years, and I have a theory. You know how sometimes in forests, people report feeling like they're being watched? Or how trails seem to loop back on themselves when they shouldn't? How compasses malfunction in certain areas?" I nodded. "I think there are thin places in these woods, places where the boundary between our world and something else, isn't as solid as it should be. And I think the stairs are like doorways, portals maybe, leading to somewhere we're not supposed to go." "That's insane." "Is it? More insane than staircases appearing and disappearing in the wilderness. More insane than wood that doesn't rot and metal that doesn't rust. More insane than footsteps coming down from nowhere." He had a point. "The rule exists for a reason, Lucas. We don't know what's on the other side of those stairs. We don't know what happens if you climb them. And we don't want to find out." I agreed. I promised I wouldn't go near the stairs again. And I meant it. But the forest had other plans. A month later, we got a report of a missing hiker. Sarah Chen, 28 years old, experienced backpacker, 3 days overdue from a solo trip. Her car was at the trailhead, her itinerary filed properly. She should have been back 2 days ago. I was part of the search team. We spent 2 days covering her planned route, finding nothing. No sign of her, no abandoned gear, no indication of where she might have gone. On the 3rd day, I was searching an area off her planned route, following a hunch. That's when I found them. Stairs. But these were different from any I'd seen before. They were stone, ancient-looking, covered in moss and lichen. They looked like they'd been there for centuries, even though I patrolled this area dozens of times and had never seen them. And at the top of the stairs, barely visible in the fading afternoon light, was a person. Sarah Chen. I recognized her from the photos her family had provided. She was sitting on the top step, her back to me, completely still. "Sarah!" I called out. "Sarah Chen! Can you hear me?" She didn't turn around, didn't move at all. I radioed my position to the team, told them I'd found her. Then I approached the stairs. "Sarah, my name is Lucas. I'm a park ranger. Your family is worried about you. Can you come down?" Still no response. She just sat there, motionless. I had a choice. I could wait for backup, but it would be dark in an hour. If she was injured or hypothermic, every minute mattered. Or I could climb up and get her. Tom's warning echoed in my mind. never climb the stairs, no matter what. But this was different. There was a person up there, a real person who needed help. I put my foot on the first step. The silence hit me like a physical blow. Everything, all sound, all sensation of wind or temperature, just stopped. I could see my breath, but I couldn't hear myself breathing. It was like being wrapped in cotton, isolated from the world. I climbed to the second step. The stairs felt solid under my feet, real and substantial, but the air around me was getting thicker, harder to move through. Third step, fourth step. Each one felt like walking through increasingly deep water. The pressure on my ears was intense, like descending underwater without equalizing. Fifth step. I was halfway up now. Sarah was still there, still motionless, just a few steps above me. That's when I saw what she was looking at. At the top of the stairs, where there should have been empty air, there was something else. A space. A room, maybe, or a corridor. It was hard to focus on it. My eyes kept sliding away, refusing to process what they were seeing. But it was there. A space that shouldn't exist, opening from the top of the stairs. And there was something in that space. A figure, tall, thin, impossibly still, watching Sarah. Watching me. "Sarah," I said, though I couldn't hear my own voice in the oppressive silence. "Sarah, we need to go down, now." She turned her head slightly. Not to look at me, but toward the figure in that impossible space. Then she stood up and stepped forward into that space, into that room or corridor or whatever it was. And she disappeared. One moment she was there, the next she was gone. Just vanished into the space at the top of the stairs. I stood frozen on the fifth step, terror warring with duty. She was missing. I was a ranger. It was my job to find her, to bring her back. The figure in that space leaned forward slightly, and I saw it more clearly. Or rather, I saw the absence of it. It was like looking at a hole in reality, a space where nothing should be but something was anyway. And it was reaching for me. I stumbled backward, nearly falling, and scrambled down the stairs. The moment my feet hit the ground, sound rushed back in. The wind, the birds, my own ragged breathing. I ran back to the trail and radioed the team. Told them I'd seen Sarah but lost her. Didn't mention the stairs. Didn't mention what I'd seen. Just said she'd been there, and then wasn't. We searched for 3 more days. Never found her. Never found any trace. It was like she'd vanished into thin air. The official report said she likely fell into a ravine or crevasse and couldn't be located. Search suspended pending new evidence. Case open, but inactive. But I know what happened. Sarah climbed those stairs, and she went somewhere else. Somewhere we're not meant to go. I went back to the location a week later, alone, against every instinct. The stairs were gone. No sign they'd ever been there. The ground was undisturbed, covered in years of forest debris. But I could still feel it. That wrongness, that thin place where reality wasn't quite solid. After that, I started noticing things I'd missed before. The forest was full of them. These thin places, these wrong spots where the air felt different and sound didn't carry right. I'd walked past them hundreds of times without consciously registering them. But now I couldn't stop seeing them. Couldn't stop feeling them. And the stairs started appearing more frequently. Not to other rangers, to me. Specifically to me. Every patrol, I'd find them. Different styles, different locations, but always there. Wooden stairs, metal stairs, stone stairs, stairs that looked like they were made of crystal or ice or something that might have been bone. And sometimes there were things on them. Objects left behind. A child's shoe on step 3. A wedding ring on step 7. A watch still ticking on the top step. I reported each finding to Tom. He became increasingly concerned. "They're showing themselves to you," he said. "That's never happened before. Usually, rangers see them once, maybe twice in their entire career. You're seeing them constantly. Why? I don't know. Maybe because you climbed them. Maybe because you saw what was at the top. Maybe you're marked now somehow." "Marked?" Tom looked uncomfortable. "There's an old story among the rangers, been passed down for generations, though most people think it's just a campfire tale. It says the stairs are looking for something, someone. They appear to test people, to see if they'll climb. And if someone does climb, if someone sees what's at the top, they become visible to whatever maintains the stairs, whatever exists in those spaces." Fort. Is it? You've seen more stairs in 2 months than most rangers see in a lifetime. You tell me what's happening. I didn't have an answer. Things got worse. I started seeing the stairs even when I wasn't on duty, hiking on my own time, driving past forests. Even in my dreams, endless staircases leading to spaces that shouldn't exist, figures in those spaces watching me, waiting. 3 months after Sarah disappeared, I was on a patrol when I found stairs that made my blood run cold. They were in my regular patrol area. Wooden stairs, well-constructed, Victorian-style railings. Exactly like the first stairs I'd ever seen. But this time, there was something at the top. A figure, sitting on the top step with their back to me. It was Sarah Chen. I recognized her jacket, her backpack. It was definitely her. "Sarah?" I called out. She didn't turn around. I approached slowly, every nerve screaming at me to run. "Sarah, is that you?" She turned her head. Just her head, rotating further than a human neck should rotate, until she was looking at me over her shoulder. It was her face. But the eyes were wrong. Empty. Like looking into a doll's eyes. The shape was right, but there was no one home. "Don't climb," she said. Her voice was flat, monotone, like she was reading from a script. "Don't ever climb. They're waiting. Always waiting." "Sarah, what happened to you? Where did you go?" "The stairs go up," she said. "But they don't come down. The stairs go up, but they don't come down." She repeated it like a mantra, her head rotating slowly back to face forward. Then she stood up and walked up into that impossible space at the top of the stairs, and vanished again. I left the forest that day and never went back on duty. I filed my resignation the next morning. Tom tried to talk me out of it, said I was having a psychological break, that I needed therapy, not retirement. Maybe he was right. Maybe I did have a break. Maybe Sarah Chen was never at the top of those stairs. Maybe I imagined the whole thing. But I don't think so. I think the forest has secrets. I think there are places where our world touches something else, something older, something that doesn't follow our rules. And I think the stairs are invitations. Tests. Doorways. And I think if you climb them, you go somewhere you're not supposed to go. Somewhere you can't come back from. Not really. not whole. Sarah Chen's case is still open. Her family still hopes she'll be found. Search teams still go out occasionally, covering areas they've already searched, hoping for new evidence. But I know they won't find her. Not in our world anyway. She's somewhere else now. Somewhere at the top of stairs that lead to nothing, or everything, or something in between. I live in the city now, concrete and steel, and no forests for miles. I don't hike anymore, don't camp, don't even like walking through parks with too many trees, because I still see them sometimes. Out of the corner of my eye, in my peripheral vision, stairs that shouldn't be there, leading up to spaces that can't exist. And sometimes, in the quiet moments late at night, I hear footsteps, slow and deliberate, descending from somewhere above me, even though I'm on the ground floor of my apartment. Coming down from stairs I can't see. Getting closer. I tell myself it's just my imagination. Trauma from what I experienced. PTSD from the job. My therapist agrees. She's given me medication for the anxiety, tools for managing the intrusive thoughts. But last week, I woke up at 3 a.m. to find something on my nightstand that wasn't there when I went to bed. A piece of wood. Smooth, polished, with an ornate carved pattern on one side. It's the railing from a staircase. I recognize the style. Victorian, just like the first stairs I ever saw. And there's something carved into the underside that I didn't notice at first. A message, scratched into the wood in crude letters. Y-O-U. Climbed. Now we climb to you. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it's a threat or a promise or just my own mind creating meaning from randomness. But I keep the doors locked now, all of them, and I sleep with the lights on. And I try not to think about what might be at the top of stairs that exist in spaces between spaces. I'm writing this as a warning, particularly to anyone who works in the wilderness. Rangers, hikers, researchers, anyone who spends time deep in the forests. If you find stairs in the woods, stairs that lead nowhere, stairs that don't belong, leave them alone. Don't touch them. Don't climb them. Don't even get close if you can help it. Mark the location if you need to. Take photos from a distance, but don't interact with them because I think they're looking for something. Testing people. Waiting for someone to climb, someone to cross over, someone to see what's at the top. And once you do, once you climb even a single step, once you glimpse what exists in those impossible spaces, you can't undo it. You're marked, visible, connected to something you don't understand and can't escape. The stairs found me. They showed themselves to me over and over. They tested me. And now, even here in the city, miles from any forest, I think they're still trying to reach me. I hear them at night. Those footsteps, descending from somewhere I can't see, getting closer with each passing week. And I'm terrified of what will happen when they finally reach the bottom. When whatever walks down those invisible stairs finally arrives. I don't go outside after dark anymore. I don't sleep well. I jump at every sound. My therapist says I need to face my fears, that avoidance is making things worse. She doesn't understand, can't understand, because I did face my fears. I climbed those stairs, if only a few steps. I saw what was at the top. I looked into that space that shouldn't exist. And now it's looking back. So please, if you're reading this and you spend time in the wilderness, remember, the stairs in the woods are not what they seem. They're not abandoned structures. They're not art installations. They're not pranks. They're doors. And some doors are meant to stay closed. Some stairs are meant to go unclimbed. And if you find them, if you see them standing there in the middle of the forest leading up to nothing, walk away. Don't be curious. Don't be brave. Don't think you're the exception. Just walk away. Because Sarah Chen didn't. And now she's gone. And I climbed just 5 steps. Just 5. And they're still coming for me. The footsteps continue every night. Getting louder. Getting closer. And someday soon, I think I'm going to turn around and see them. The stairs. Right there in my apartment. Leading up to that impossible space where things that shouldn't exist are waiting. And I don't know if I'll be able to resist climbing them. Because once you've seen what's at the top, once you've glimpsed that other side, part of you wants to know more, wants to understand, wants to cross over completely. The stairs call to you. And I'm terrified that one night I'm going to answer. There are rules for using a Ouija board. Everyone knows them, or thinks they do. Never use it alone. Never use it in a graveyard. Always say goodbye before you end the session. These rules get passed around like urban legends, half believed, half mocked. I used to think they were bullshit. Superstitions invented to make a stupid board game seem more mysterious than it actually was. I thought the whole thing was just the ideomotor effect, unconscious muscle movements making it seem like something else was moving. The planchette. I don't think that anymore. My name is Amanda. I'm 24 years old and I live in New Orleans. Or I'm trying to, because ever since that night 3 months ago, I'm not sure I'm living here alone. And I'm not sure what I let into my apartment is ever going to leave. This is my story, and I'm telling it as a warning. Because if you're thinking about using a Ouija board, if you think it's just a game, if you think the rules don't matter, you're wrong. You're so fucking wrong. And by the time you realize it, it might be too late. It started in early November 2024. My best friend since college, Mia, was visiting from Atlanta for the weekend. We'd planned a girls' weekend binge watching, horror movies, drinking wine, eating too much takeout, the usual. My boyfriend Tyler was going to join us for part of it, making it a group hang. On Saturday night, we were walking through the French Quarter, a little buzzed from the bars, when we passed one of those tourist shops that sell voodoo dolls and Marie Laveau memorabilia and all the occult kitsch that New Orleans trades on. In the window was a display of Ouija boards, vintage-looking ones, decorative ones, and one that caught Mia's eye. "Oh my God, we should totally do one," she said, already pulling me toward the door. "It'll be perfect for the spooky weekend vibe." "Those things are just toys," I said. "Mass, produced by Hasbro or whoever." "I know, but it'll be fun." "Come on, when's the last time you did something just for the hell of it?" Tyler, who'd met us at the bar, shrugged. "Could be entertaining. I'll buy it if you two promise to take it seriously. Like, full commitment to the bit." So we bought it. $25 for a wooden board with ornate lettering and a plastic planchette. The shopkeeper, an older woman with about 30 years of cigarette damage in her voice, gave us a strange look as she rang it up. "You girls know how to use this properly?" she asked. "Put your fingers on the triangle thing and ask questions, right?" Mia said, grinning. The woman didn't smile back. There are rules, important ones. You don't use it alone. You don't ask it to prove itself by doing something physical. And you always, always say goodbye before you stop. You understand? Sure, sure, Tyler said, clearly humoring her. We'll be careful. She held on to the bag for a moment before letting him take it. I'm serious. This isn't a toy, no matter what the packaging says. You're opening a door, and you need to close it properly when you're done. We thanked her and left, laughing about how she was really committed to the tourist experience. That should have been our first warning. But we were young and drunk and thought we knew better. Back at my apartment, we set up in the living room. It was around midnight, the witching hour, as Mia dramatically announced. We lit some candles for atmosphere, turned off the lights, and sat around my coffee table with the board between us. Okay, how do we do this? Mia asked. Tyler pulled up instructions on his phone. Everyone puts 2 fingers lightly on the planchette. We ask if any spirits are present. If it moves to yes, we can ask questions. And then we say goodbye when we're done. What if it doesn't move? I asked. Then we've wasted $25 and we go back to watching movies. We all placed our fingers on the planchette. It was a small piece of plastic with a circular window, light enough that any of us could have easily moved it. I was already planning how I'd tease them when nothing happened. Is there anyone here who wants to communicate with us? Tyler asked, his voice mockingly serious. Nothing. The planchette sat still under our fingers. Maybe we need to be more specific, Mia suggested. Is there a spirit present in this room? Still nothing. This is stupid, I said, starting to pull my fingers away. That's when it moved. It wasn't dramatic. Just a slight glide across the board, smooth and deliberate, to the word, why, yes. We all looked at each other. Who pushed it? Mia asked. I didn't, Tyler and I said simultaneously. I didn't either, Mia said. Swear to God. Someone's fucking with us, I said, but my heart was already beating faster, because I hadn't moved it, and I didn't think they had either. Okay, Tyler said, getting more into it. What's your name? The planchette began to move again, more confidently this time. It glided across the board, stopping at letters one by one. Z-O-Z-O, Zozo? Mia read. What kind of name is that? I felt a chill run down my spine. Guys, I think we should stop. Why? We just started, Tyler said. That name. I've heard it before. It's like an internet urban legend. Zozo is supposed to be a demon or something that people contact through Ouija boards. Oh, come on, Tyler laughed. That's exactly the kind of story people make up to make this seem scarier. One of you is moving it. I'm not, Mia and I said together. Then it's the ideomotor effect, Tyler insisted. Our subconscious expectations are making it move. Amanda mentioned the name before, so now our brains are recreating it. I mentioned it after it spelled it out, I protested. But Tyler was already asking another question. Zozo, how old are you? The planchette moved quickly now, almost violently, swinging back and forth between letters. O-L-D, 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 O-L-D. Over and over, the same word, the movement getting more aggressive each time. Okay, this is creepy, Mia said, pulling her fingers back. I don't like this. Don't break the circle, Tyler said. Put your fingers back. Tyler, maybe we should listen to her, I said. The atmosphere in the room had changed. The air felt heavier, colder. The candle flames were flickering even though there was no draft. "Just a few more questions," Tyler said. "Then we'll say goodbye properly, just like the lady said. Zozo, why are you here?" The planchette began moving in a figure-8 pattern over and over, fast and smooth, just infinity loops, again and again. "What does that mean?" Mia asked, her voice shaking. "I don't know," I said. "Tyler, we need to stop. Now." "Zozo, can you prove you're real?" Tyler asked, ignoring me. "Can you do something to show us you're actually here?" The planchette slammed to YES so hard it nearly flew off the board. And then every candle in the room went out at once. We sat in complete darkness, the only light coming from Tyler's phone on the floor. For a moment, nobody moved, nobody breathed. Then we heard it. A sound from my bedroom, like something heavy being dragged across the floor. "What the fuck was that?" Mia whispered. "I'm turning on the lights," I said, fumbling for my phone. "Wait," Tyler said. "We didn't say goodbye." "I don't care." "Amanda," the rules said. "Fuck the rules." I turned on my phone's flashlight and swept it around the room. Everything looked normal. The board was still on the table, the planchette resting on yes. The dragging sound came again, louder this time, definitely from my bedroom. Tyler stood up. "I'll check it out." "Don't," Mia grabbed his arm. "We should all leave, right now." But Tyler was already walking toward my bedroom, his phone light leading the way. Mia and I followed, neither of us wanting to be alone. My bedroom door was closed. I always left it open. Always. Tyler reached for the handle, and Mia grabbed my hand, squeezing hard. He opened the door. My bedroom looked normal. Bed made, clothes where I'd left them, nothing out of place. Except, "Why is your closet open?" Tyler asked. My closet door was wide open, and I knew. I'd closed it before we started. I always closed it. The closet was a walk-in, deep and dark, and I'd never liked looking into it at night. "We're leaving," I said. "We're leaving right now, and we're not coming back until tomorrow, when it's light out." "Amanda, there's nothing." The closet door slammed shut, on its own. So hard the walls shook and picture frames rattled. We ran. All three of us, sprinting out of my apartment like our lives depended on it. We didn't stop until we were outside on the street, breathing hard, looking back at my building. What the fuck was that? Mia was crying. What the fuck did we do? "We didn't say goodbye," Tyler said quietly. "We left the door open. We ended up at Tyler's place for the night. None of us could sleep. We just sat in his living room, lights on, talking in circles about what had happened. Tyler Googled Zozo and found pages and pages of stories. People who'd contacted this entity through Ouija boards, who reported the same things. The figure-8 pattern, the aggressive movements, and then the aftermath. Things moving in their homes. Feeling watched. A presence that wouldn't leave. "This is just mass hysteria," Tyler kept saying, but his voice lacked conviction. "We psyched ourselves out." "The closet door slammed by itself," Mia said. "We all saw it. Old building, wind pressure, there's an explanation." But I could see the fear in his eyes. He didn't believe his own rationalization. The next morning, in daylight, things seemed less terrifying. We went back to my apartment together, all of us too scared to let anyone go alone. Everything was normal. No signs of disturbance, no weird feelings. The Ouija board was still on the coffee table where we'd left it. We should destroy it, Mia said. Or we should finish the session properly, Tyler suggested. Say goodbye, close the door we opened. Are you insane? I asked. Think about it. If we did open some kind of connection, leaving it open might be worse than properly closing it. He had a point, as much as I hated to admit it. All the rules said you had to say goodbye. That's how you closed the door. So we did it. In the daylight, with all the lights on, we sat around the board again. We placed our fingers on the planchette. Zozo, are you there? Tyler asked. The planchette moved immediately to yes. We're ending this session, Tyler said. We're saying goodbye now. Do you understand? The planchette moved to no. We're doing it anyway, Tyler said firmly. He moved the planchette to goodbye, yes. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the planchette flew out from under our fingers, shooting across the room and hitting the wall hard enough to crack. Fuck this, Mia said. She grabbed the board, ran to the kitchen, and threw it in the trash. We're done. It's over. Tyler and Mia left that afternoon. Mia's flight back to Atlanta was that evening, and Tyler said he had work to catch up on. I think they were both just desperate to get away from my apartment. I spent the rest of the day cleaning, trying to make everything feel normal again. I took out the trash with the Ouija board in it, double-bagged it, and threw it in the dumpster outside. I wanted it gone. Out of my apartment, out of my life. That night, I tried to sleep in my own bed. I left the light on, something I hadn't done since I was a kid, but I needed it. The darkness felt too heavy, too full of potential. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of scratching. It was coming from inside my closet. A rhythmic sound, like nails on wood, slow and deliberate. I lay frozen in bed, staring at the closet door. The scratching continued. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Then it stopped. The door handle began to turn. I grabbed my phone and ran out of my bedroom, slamming the door behind me. I spent the rest of the night on my couch, with every light in the apartment blazing. That was 3 months ago, and it hasn't stopped. The scratching comes every night now, always around 3 a.m., always from the closet. Sometimes the door opens on its own. Sometimes I hear footsteps in my bedroom when I know I'm alone. Sometimes I see shadows moving in my peripheral vision, shadows that disappear when I turn to look directly at them. My apartment is freezing all the time, even though my heat is cranked up and it's Louisiana in winter. Electronics malfunction. My TV turns on by itself. My phone does weird things. My laptop opens programs I didn't touch. But the worst part is the feeling. The constant sensation of being watched, of not being alone, of sharing my space with something that shouldn't be here. I tried to break my lease and move, but I can't afford it. I'm locked in for another 6 months. I looked into having my apartment blessed or cleansed, but the quotes were hundreds of dollars I don't have. I contacted the shop where we bought the board, but it's closed now, out of business. The building is empty. I don't know what happened to the woman who sold it to us, the one who warned us about the rules. I've tried everything I can think of. I bought sage and burned it in every room. I put salt lines in the doorways. I got a cross and hung it over my bed, even though I'm not religious. Nothing works. Tyler doesn't come over anymore. He says he believes me, but I can tell he thinks I'm having some kind of psychological break, that the stress of that night triggered something in my brain. Mia texts me sometimes, but the conversations are awkward. I think she blames me for what happened, even though it was all of us. 2 weeks ago, something new started happening. I began finding messages, not written down. I'd almost prefer that. No, these are spelled out. With objects in my apartment. I'll wake up and find my refrigerator magnets rearranged on the door, spelling out words. Still, here, watching. Never left. Once, I found my clothes from the closet laid out on my bed in the shape of letters, Z-O, Z-O. I took pictures and sent them to Tyler. He suggested I might be doing it myself in my sleep. Sleepwalking, creating the messages subconsciously to validate my fears. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm doing this to myself. But that doesn't explain what happened last week. I had a friend from work, Jasmine, over for dinner. We were sitting in the living room, talking and eating, when she suddenly went quiet. "Amanda," she said slowly, "why is there a man standing in your bedroom doorway?" My blood ran cold. What? There's a man, right there. Tall, dark, see. Oh my God, he's staring at us. I looked at my bedroom doorway. I didn't see anything, but Jasmine was staring at it, her face pale, her eyes wide. "He's walking toward us," she whispered. "Amanda, he's—" She screamed and jumped up, backing away from something I couldn't see. "Make it stop! Make it stop!" I grabbed her and pulled her toward the door. We ran out of my apartment, and I called 911 from the hallway. When the police came and checked my apartment, they found nothing. No sign of any intruder, no evidence anyone else had been there. But Jasmine refuses to talk to me now. She thinks I set her up somehow, staged something to scare her. She won't believe that I didn't see anything. But here's the thing, I think whatever is in my apartment is getting stronger. The first few weeks, it was just sounds and cold spots. Then it started moving things. Now, someone else has seen it. It manifested physically enough that Jasmine saw a figure, saw it moving. What happens when it gets strong enough that I can see it too? What happens when it's not just a presence, but a physical entity that can do more than open doors and leave messages? I'm scared. I'm so fucking scared. And I don't know what to do. I've been researching Zozo obsessively. Most of what I find online are stories like mine. People who contacted this entity through a Ouija board and then couldn't get rid of it. Some of them report being stalked by it for years. Others say it eventually escalated to physical attacks. Scratches appearing on their bodies, being pushed or shoved by invisible hands. A few posts mention that Zozo is a specific type of entity. Not a demon exactly, but something that exists in the space between. A parasite that feeds on fear and attention. And once you invite it in, once you make contact, it's incredibly difficult to remove. There's one recurring piece of advice in all these accounts. You have to complete the goodbye. Properly. With intent and authority. You have to force it to leave. But here's my problem. The board is gone. I threw it away 3 months ago. And even if I could get another one, I'm terrified of making contact again. What if trying to say goodbye properly just strengthens the connection? What if it makes things worse? I feel trapped. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. Last night was the worst yet. I woke up at 3 a.m. to the now familiar scratching from the closet. But this time, when the door opened, something came out. I couldn't see it clearly. It was more like a shadow, a darkness that was darker than the surrounding dark. But it moved toward my bed. I felt the mattress compress like something was sitting on it. I felt cold breath on my face. And then I heard it. A voice, barely a whisper, right next to my ear. Never said goodbye. I turned on every light I could reach and spent the rest of the night in my car in the parking lot. I'm writing this now because I don't know what else to do. I'm exhausted from not sleeping, terrified of being in my own home and running out of options. If you're reading this and you've ever used a Ouija board without saying goodbye properly, please go back and finish the session. I don't care if it's been years. I don't care if you think it's stupid. Do it anyway, because I'm living proof that leaving the door open is worse than facing whatever might be on the other side. And if you're thinking about using a Ouija board for the first time, just as a game or a fun Halloween activity, or because you don't believe in any of this, don't. I'm begging you, don't. Because those rules aren't just superstitions. They're warnings. They're the accumulated wisdom of hundreds or thousands of people who learned the hard way. What happens when you don't follow them? You're opening a door, and you need to be prepared to close it properly, or something might come through. Something that won't leave. Something that gets stronger the longer it's here. Something that whispers in your ear at 3 in the morning that you never said goodbye. I don't know how this ends for me. I'm going to try to find someone who knows how to deal with this. A priest, a medium, a paranormal investigator, someone. I'm going to try to close this door, even if I'm terrified of what might happen when I do. But if I disappear, if this account goes silent, if you hear about a woman in New Orleans who lost her mind or died under mysterious circumstances, you'll know what happened. You'll know that Zozo was real, that the door I opened never really closed, and that some games aren't games at all. They're invitations. And once you extend that invitation, once you make contact with something that exists in the dark spaces between our world and whatever else is out there, you can't take it back. You can only hope it eventually gets bored and leaves. But I don't think Zozo gets bored. I think it's just getting started.